Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 45, top of the page. And we were discussing Rabbi Zera. He said he would not accept something, a gift, but the verse was brought up, he who hates gifts will live, and the various meanings of what that could mean. And then we left off by saying that Rabbi Zera said he wouldn't take a gift, but he would, when they would invite him somewhere, he would go. He didn't consider that to be in the same category. Now on the top of Chullin 45a, our daily daf and amud. Itz yakore hu demit yakru bi. Top of 45a. It says, it is an honor for them to honor me. Meaning my attendance is not for my own benefit, but for theirs. So he didn't consider it a gift. It was like, in a way, he was giving them something. Okay. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amarav Nikva Kanava Mitzarefim Leruba. With regard to the halacha that a cut windpipe renders the animal a treifa, Rabbi Yehuda says that Rav says if the windpipe was perforated with a series of small holes around its circumference like a sieve, the small holes join together to constitute a majority of the circumference. Therefore, if their collective size is a majority of the circumference, the windpipe is considered cut. Meisiv Rabbi Yirmiyahu Uva gulgoiles sheyesh bo neked echad oroch afilu yesh bo nekavim harbe mitzarfim lemelo makdeach alma kevan de shiura melo Bilo makdeach mitzarfin anami kevan de shiura lecheisa mitzarfin. Rabbi Yirmiyah raises an objection. The Mishnah teaches in Ohalot 2:3 that if a skull of a corpse has a round hole, at least the size of a drill bit used for surgery, then the skull does not impart ritual impurity in a tent. Okay? With regard to this, the bride states, and in a skull that contains one long hole, or even if it has many small holes, the areas. I was just reading today on social media about a guy who was suffering from OCD, and he had a gun, and he blew his brain, and he wasn't successful at the suicide. He actually lived. But what he did inadvertently was he hit the brain in a certain way that the part that causes OCD was taken out. So he actually cured his OCD by shooting himself in the head. I do not recommend it, but I just read that today. But it's interesting that it's reading in the daf here that we're talking about a hole in the skull. And this is definitely a case where this guy did that. Again, don't try it. If anyone has OCD, it's much better to use other means, of course. But it's interesting that I read that today. Okay, in a skull that contains one long hole, and even if it has many holes in the areas of holes, joined together to constitute the size of a drill hole. Also reminds me of the movie Pi. This guy, he was also suffering from schizophrenia. He took a drill, he was drilling in his head. I think it was just in his imagination, but still, in the movie you saw it, the drill going zzz, he didn't actually see it drilling his head, but anyway, or maybe you did, I don't remember so clearly now. Evidently, since the requisite measure of the size of the drill hole, the small holes joined together to constitute the size of a drill hole. And not another measure. If so, here too, in the case of the windpipe, since the requisite measure of a hole to render the animal a treifa is the size of an isar, C54a, the small hole should join together to constitute the size of an isar. Why must they constitute the majority of the circumference? Ish to meet te ha de amar chelbo amrav chama bar guria. Amarav Nikovin sheyesh bahen chesoin mitzarfin cheisol v'she'ein bahen chesoin mitzarfin nerubo. The Gemara notes it escaped him, meaning Rav Yirmiyah, that which Rabbi Chelbo says, that Rabbi Chama Bar Guria says, that Rav says. perforations that are a deficiency, meaning holes of a significant area, joined together to constitute the size of an Isser, and perforations that are not a deficiency but are as small as holes of a sieve must join together to constitute the majority of the circumference, which is the measure of a cut windpipe. Since the holes are not substantial in area, the windpipe cannot be said to be missing a piece, but it may be considered cut. Amar Rabba bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Nitlahi meno retzuo, Mitztarefes lecha'iso ba'ominei, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Nikva kan famahu Amalei, Hare amru nekavim sheyesh b'hem chisar, Rai mitztarfen lecha'iso, V'shein b'hem chisar mitztarfen leruba. Rabba bar Chana says that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, if a strip of the windpipe was removed from it, its area joins to constitute the size of an Isser, even if the strip itself is narrower than an Isser. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani asked Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, if the windpipe was perforated like a sieve, what is the halacha? Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said to him, the sages said, with regard to this case, perforations that are a deficiency joined together to constitute the size of an Isser, and perforations that are not a deficiency joined together to constitute the majority of the circumference. The Gemara raises the question, the measure of an Isser for missing flesh in the windpipe applies only to animals. In birds, this cannot be the measure, as the entire width of the windpipe is less than the diameter of an Isser. What, then, is the measure with regard to a bird? Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani l'didima farshali minei d'Rabbi mikapilo umenicho al pi hakone im chofe esrov hakone treifa v'im lav kasheiro. Amar Rav Papa v'simanech nafya. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani said, it was explained to me personally by Rabbi Elazar. One severs a perforated tissue, folds, and lays it over the opening of the windpipe. If it covers the majority of the windpipe, the animal is a treifa, and if not, the animal is kosher. Rav Papa said, and your nimanik for this halacha should be a sieve. If the tissue is perforated like a sieve, one must place it over the opening of the windpipe as if it were a sieve. Nifchato kadeles amaru Nachman kedei shikonis l'zolach nizdaka amurav afilu lo nishtaya bo al chulya achas normala b'chulya achas lemato kasheiro. The Gemara continues, the windpipe was missing a piece, so that its appearance was like that was like a door where the missing flesh was partially attached as though on a hinge. Rav Nachman said, if the missing piece was so large that an Isser can enter the hole widthwise, it's wider and taller than an Isser, the animal is a treifa. If the windpipe was cracked along its length, Rav said, even if only one undamaged segment remains in the windpipe above the crack, and one segment below the animal is kosher. Amar Kamay Rav Yochanan, Amar Ma Chulia, Dikamarav, Ela Emam, Afilo Nishtarba, Ela Ma Shulimala, Ma Shulimata Kishero. The sages said this statement before Rabbi Yochanan, who said, what is this segment and what is that segment that Rav says? Segments that are immaterial to the matter. Rather say, even if any amount remained intact in the windpipe above the crack, and any amount below, the animal is kosher. The animal is kosher. Amru Kamei Rabbi Yochanan Mishmei Rav Yonatan Hachi Amar Lahu Yadinan Chavrin Pavloi Lefroshe Ki Hai Taime. The sages said this statement in Eretz Yisrael before Rabbi Yochanan in the name of Rabbi Yonatan the Babylonian, meaning that any amount of undamaged tissue above and below the crack renders the animal kosher. Rabbi Yochanan said to them excitedly, do our Babylonian friends know how to interpret in accordance with this explanation? He was happy that Rabbi Yonatan interpreted it in the same way he did. Tana Rabbi Chiya bar Yosef Kama Rabbi Yochanan Kol Etzavar Kulo Kosher L'Shchita Mat Ba'as Hagedoilo Ad Kanfi Reyo Hatachtoino Amar Robe Tachtoino Shehi Eliona Shani Oimer Kol Shepushetis Savaro Roya Buivad Sheloi Teonis. Rabbi Chiya bar Yosef taught before Rabbi Yochanan the entire neck is fit for slaughter, from the large uppermost ring of the windpipe downward until the lower edges of the lung. Rava says that the phrase lower edges of the lung is referring to an animal hung by the feet. That is, it actually denotes the upper edges nearest the head. As I say, that the area is fit for slaughter is all the length of the neck that the animal extends to in order to graze, provided that it is not forced to extend its neck further than it wishes. Consequently, the very bottom of the neck is not a location fit for slaughter. Boy Rav Chanina v'yitem Rav Chananya Ansa atzmamahu teku. Rav Chanina, some say it was Rav Chananya, raises a dilemma. If the animal forced itself and extended its neck, what's the halacha with regard to the additional area? The Gemara responds, teku. We must wait until the coming of the Messiah ben David. The question is all stand unresolved. Teku. Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Nafak, Milta, Bibinaihu, Anas Pasimon Vishachat, Psula, Nigavagon, Elamatu Minavaze, Nidon Kereya. The Gemara relates that Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish sat together and matter emerged from between them. If the slaughter forced the animal to extend the simanim by stretching the neck and slaughter the animal at the lower end of the neck, the slaughter is not valid. And if the windpipe was perforated below the breast, it is considered to be like a perforated lung, which renders the animal a treifa no matter the size of the perforation. A perforation in the upper windpipe must be the size of an Isser to render the animal a treifa. See 54a. Tanu Abanan. Eizu Chazeh זה הרואה את הקרקע למטה על הצוואר, למעלה על הכורס. חוטר שתי סלויס משתי, תפנויס אלך ואלך. תזרח זה ניתן לכהנים. The Gemara elaborates the sage's silent brayta, which is the breast that must be given to the priests as a gift from every peace offering. See Leviticus 7:31. This is the section that faces the ground, not the ribbed area on the sides. And lengthwise it extends below where the animal is hung from the legs until the neck, and above until the rumen. One cuts the two ribs nearest the head from the two sides of the animal, from both directions. And this is the breast that is given to the priests. Nikav krum shel moach, Rav Shmuel d'amrit harvayu, korma ilao, aval gav delo in kiv tatao. Yamri la ad in kiv tatao. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, V'simanaich chaysad nimanach bemocha. The Mishnah states, if the membrane of the brain was perforated, the animal is a treifa. The Gemara cites Rav and Shmuel, who both say, the brain is covered by two membranes, a thick outer membrane adjacent to the skull and a thick inner membrane adjacent to the brain. The animal is a treifa if the outer membrane was perforated, if the inner membrane was not perforated. And some say if the animal is not a treifa unless the inner membrane was perforated as well. Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says, and this is your mnemonic to remember the halachim. The bag in which the brain rests is the inner membrane. Okay? Amar Rabbi bar Barachana, Amar Rabbi Shua Levi, kenegdo bebeitzim nikal. Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Mishum bar kapara, moach, kol ma shebakdera nidon k'moach, ki tchir lemashech nidon kechut hashidra. Umehechan, ma tchil limashech, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak bar Nachmani, dididi mitparsha li mine the Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi Kimin Sheni. Kimin Shnei, continue on to 45b. Shnei Poilin, we have to continue because there's no idea. Shnei Poilin Yesh Munach Napi Agreira, Mena Poilin Lefnim, Kilifnim, Mena Poilin Namachutz, Kanachutz, Poilin Asman and Yodea, Mistava Kilifnim. Okay, so Rabbi Bar Chana says that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, even though the inner membrane of the brain is very thin and not easily visible, it is equivalent in the testes, which are also enclosed in a thin membrane, is conspicuous as it has an appearance different from the testicles themselves. Alright? Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi says that Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, in the name of Bar Kapara, with regard to the brain, everything inside the skull is considered part of the brain. From the point where it begins to extend like a cord out of the base of the skull, it is considered the spinal cord. And from where does it begin to be extended? Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Nachmani said, it was explained to me personally that by Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi himself, protrusions similar to 45b on top, 2 beans lie at the opening of the skull, where the spinal cord exits. From the beans inward, the nerve tissue is considered like the inside, meaning the brain. Therefore, if its membrane is perforated, even minimally, the animal is a treifa. From the beans outward, the nerve tissue is considered like at the outside, meaning the spinal cord. A perforation of the membrane in this area renders the animal a treifa only if the spinal cord is mostly cut. And with regard to the area of the beans themselves, I do not know what the halacha is, but it stands to reason that it would be considered like the inside. Okay, we'll stop here. That is 45a and a little bit of 45b.